Hello there, and welcome back to Magical Mountain of Minecraft Mountainness. I can see through the floor. That's intended. So last video we showed this door. I found and discovered this magical door, which is sort of like a bank vault door. Obviously in the mountain it doesn't really look like a bank vault, but you have the middle bit recessed and then these bits around the outside. And it just enables you to make a big door a bit easier than if this block was here, where we'd have to do some weird piston stuff. But what if we could make this bigger? Well, I'm just going to walk over here for no apparent reason. There's no reason. Oh look, there's a bigger door. I've never seen this in my life. And there's a lever next to it. Wow, that was really unexpected. I didn't put anything in the chest. I'd normally have a joke here, but I forgot. At least I'm in a boat now. You know, it can't go anywhere, but have you got a boat? Didn't think so. So yep, this is a 4x4 version of that door. And the main thing is it's kind of slow compared to like my Java Edition ones, but I made it tiny. So Bedrock Edition is harder to make doors like this anyway, the console version. But if we actually go over here and look at the size of it, it is actually not very big at all. It's 3 blocks wide and, well, 3 blocks in this direction. Then it's 10 blocks side to side and it's 9 blocks high. And we got stuff like to get the power from the bottom to the top. I actually have this pillar of sand with a piston. And when you pull the lever, that gets pushed up. And then this repeater that's powered by a torch will power this redstone, which powers the top bit. And then when we close it, does all this stuff, and we've got some weird observers with trapdoors that get set off to help with the closing. So yeah, not the fastest thing in existence, but it is tiny for Bedrock Edition, as far as I know. Someone might have a smaller one. You could probably make this too wide, like 2 blocks in this direction, if you worked hard enough, cut off this entire bit. But you'd have to make it more to each side, so it's kind of a balance. But this is what I came up with. We got other weird stuff like these sticky pistons push redstone blocks up to power the bottom piston, and then the top one gets powered by this redstone here. That is a point. Why do I have this redstone block? Oh yeah, it's because it powers this redstone dust, which powers this block, and that pushes out the bottom piston there. So that's how this block goes to the middle. And then we just have to pull them back. That's the wrong lever. So anyway, tutorial. So for the resources, you're going to need 24 redstone dust, 5 redstone repeaters, 1 normal piston, 22 sticky pistons, some sand, not 64, I'll count that actually, 6 sand, 5 redstone torches, 2 redstone blocks, 7 observers, 2 trapdoors, and then just your blocks for your door. I'm using smooth stone and some sea lanterns, and then I'll just use wool for the redstone bits. In terms of space, as I said before, you need 3 blocks deep by 10 blocks wide, and your door is in the middle 4 blocks, and then 9 blocks high, and your door is 3 blocks off the ground. So if you were building this in a wall, you need to dig a couple of blocks below the floor so that you'd have space for the redstone stuff. You also need a couple of blocks above the door as well for some redstone stuff. Alright, so for the pistons, if we go to the front of the door, these 4 blocks in the floor, we put sticky pistons aiming upwards underneath all of them, like that. We do the same for the top 4 blocks as well. Have 4 sticky pistons aiming downwards to push them down. Now for the sides, I'm going to do it in 2 parts. So the middle blocks are these 2, 1 block backwards. And behind those we do 2 pistons, 2 sticky pistons, like that. Same on the other side. There we go. And then to do the front blocks we just need to push these 2 out, so we do 2 sticky pistons, just single ones behind those blocks. There's 2 for these middle ones because they have to get pushed to here and then here, so they're all in the middle like that, whereas the side ones only have to get pushed here, around the edge. Okay, so for your input, you're actually going to input into redstone on the bottom, so we do blocks next to these 4 pistons with redstone dust on them. And I'll do the right side first, so we just do 3 blocks like this at the back with redstone, and then we do a couple more blocks in front. On the middle one we have a repeater on its full delay, and then a redstone dust on this one. So this repeater goes into a block with a torch on top of it. Then there's another block with another repeater just left on its default. And that goes into a block with a torch on top. Then that torch goes into a block between these pistons with a redstone dust on it. And that'll power these two pistons as well as these two. Right next to this block with a torch, next to this redstone, we do a sticky piston. And that has one of our redstone blocks on it. And then next to redstone block, we do a block with redstone. And that'll be aiming into this block in the wall. So I'll actually put those wall blocks in and the ceiling blocks here. And the floor, I guess, there as well. And that's what powers this piston when it gets pushed to here to push the block to the middle. Okay, we also need our sand tower to get the power up to the top. So next to this back redstone, we do this piston. Kind of made a mistake. I said this is the right side. I'm behind the door right now, so if you're at the front, it would actually be the left side. But if you're at the back, it's on the right. Oh well, it doesn't really matter which side you do as which. But above this normal piston, we put 6 blocks of sand, like that. So we also have the rest of our wall and floor here around the door. And I'm just filling that in because it's used in the door. So next to sand, we have 2 blocks, and there's a torch on one of them, and then a repeater coming out of that torch, and that's so when the sand gets pushed up, the repeater powers redstone through the sand. And I'm actually going to place some observers down, because when the blocks get pulled back with the pistons will pull back to here, but the blocks will still be here. So we need to power these 2 pistons again to pull the blocks back into the wall. And we do that with observers. And we trigger the observer when these pistons at the front pull these blocks back into the wall. So put an observer above this piston that will set off when that's finished. That then goes into a trapdoor. And then out the side of the trapdoor, we have another observer, and then we do, under the block the repeater's on, another trapdoor. And that's because above this top piston, we have an observer aiming down from this observer. So hard to get things to aim down in this version. So that observer is aiming down into this piston to power it, and then we use this trapdoor, which has been powered through the block by this observer, to set off another observer here, next to the piston, into a block. And that's because then it'll power the bottom piston. So that's what pulls the blocks from there back into the door. It's a little funky, but the point of this trapdoor stuff is so they go off at the same time, because this observer will go off and set off this observer. At the same time, it will set off the trapdoor, and then this observer sets off. So there's the same amount of observers, and it takes the same amount of time for both of those pistons. Okay, and then back to our repeater and sand thing, we put a block next to the sand, next to this observer, and we just run redstone on this block, this observer, this block on the door here, and then these 4 next to the pistons. And then we also use this to power part of the other side as well, so we just do it there. And then to stop it aiming at a trapdoor we'll place later, we put another redstone here at the back as well, because there's going to be a trapdoor next to this redstone. And if it powers that, it will make things go off at the wrong time, so that's why we have to make it aim backwards like that. So this redstone also will power the top piston when it's here to push the block out to there. So it kind of is doing that, as well as doing these top 4 pistons. Don't worry if it's confusing, just, you know, if the door works, it works, if it doesn't, it doesn't, and then just check you've built everything correctly. But I just try and explain how the stuff works as well. Okay, on the other side we do the same layout of redstone, so next to the furthest piston to the side we do 3 blocks with redstone on them. Then in the middle we have a repeater on full delay aiming forwards into a block with a torch on it, then a block to the side with another repeater on its default into a block with a torch. Then this torch goes up into a block next to pistons with redstone on it. Then we also do a block next to the first repeater with redstone on it, and that powers this sticky piston to the side, which has a redstone block on it, and then next to redstone block we have a block with redstone, so again that powers this bottom block, which will power the piston when it's here, to push our middle blocks out into the middle. So we'll just put those back. Then we don't have to do the sand because we've got the redstone coming over the entire side from that side, so we don't have to repeat it on this side. So we just have our observers to power these middle pistons at the end. So place a block and a redstone next to middle pistons at the back. Then if we go to the front, these 2 pistons, we place an observer above them into a block, and then a trapdoor to the side. Then place an observer going sideways, and then one aiming down into this redstone, and that'll power both of those pistons at the same time. Now one thing is, don't put a block next to this redstone, because when you're filling in the blocks around the door to hide it, you might put a block here, and don't, because for some reason this redstone will sort of randomly change to not facing the piston and will face this block, and then that'll power these pistons at the back instead of the ones in the middle, and that means the door won't work properly. So leave a gap next to this redstone. I had loads of issues with that on this side, and that's why I had to do the weird trapdoor observer thing, because originally there was redstone there. So yeah, you can put redstone here on this side, just don't put a block next to it. You can put a block here though, that's fine, like in front of it. It just can't be to the side. And okay, that should be all of the redstone. So just make sure you've got your repeaters right timing. So this is full delay, this is default. And then we've just got all the observers and things. Make sure those are aiming in the right direction. And then again, to power it, you just power this bottom line of redstone. You can power any part of this bottom bit of redstone. And if you want to power it from the front, pro tip, this block with the repeater on it, you can place a repeater going into it, and that'll power the redstone on the other side, but won't affect anything else. So that's how I can power it from the front. So if I just put a lever here, and then pull it, the door should all close up. Forgot to do that as glowstone. Sea lantern even, and then we turn it off, and it should all close away. There we go. And then your floor would be here, and your wall would be around it like this. Alright, there we go. This has been the 4x4 vault door tutorial in Minecraft Bedrock. I've been Idendide. Hope you enjoyed this. Subscribe and comment something else you want to see me build if you do. And I'll see you in the next one. Adios.